Have you ever wondered, how do I teach my children sight words? Today I'm going to share with you a few simple tips how you can teach your children sight words enough to where they can start reading beginner level books on their own. And if you stick around, you'll get my free guide, How to Teach the Pre-K Sight Words. Now, before we go any further, I want to make it clear that if you haven't yet taught your child how to read consonant, vowel, consonant words, I'm talking those short words with the short vowel sounds like cat, pig, hat, bus, with a vowel in the middle, you're going to want to teach those first before introducing sight word practice. If you'd like to know why, I will leave a link in the description below to my other video explaining why I teach phonics before I start with sight words. Number 1, start small. Find some of the smaller, easier words to start teaching your child in that Dolch Pre-K sight word group. Now, a certain amount of them can be sounded out quite easily. So if you follow my advice, where you have taught your child how to read a consonant, vowel, consonant word with a short vowel in the middle, that's going to be fairly easy for your child. I usually like to start off with about 5 words in a stack. You can adjust that and make it more or less as your child is able to handle it. If you start with these shorter and easier words, your child is going to feel so confident and so much more excited to learn them. Children like to look at the stack and see just how many they have learned, and they can feel very, very proud of that. Number 2, regularly review the words and gradually add on new ones. So with my children, we used basic flashcards. I would keep them handy, start with my original stack, and then it would just keep growing. The stack keeps growing. Regularly reviewing them for you might mean that you have a stack in your purse or you have a stack in the car door that you just leave there. You may even give a stack to your child. Punch a hole, hook it on one of those metal rings. They'll feel special carrying those around as well. Now, for some confusion on not wanting to get things mixed up, if you want to use some different colors, I remember writing some of my words in different colors. So my Dolch Pre-K group, they were written in blue, but my Dolch Kindergarten group words were written in green. And the best part about using an index card is that if you lose it, it's easy to make a new one and very cheap too. A simple way that I would review these words with my child is just to lay them all out on the table or lay them all out on the floor. I could call out a word and see if he could find it, or he might call out the words just in whatever order he wanted to and hand them to me. Take a look at this cute picture. This is my second son, and he's standing there so proud with all these words spread out on the floor, and he knows that he can read every single one of them. Just such a simple thing to do, such a cheap thing to do, and he is just so proud of them. You can spread them out on the floor. You can play I Spy with them. You can name one. He can name one. You can go back and forth, and it's just a simple way to do it. Just stay consistent and regularly review. Hi parents, is your child struggling to read or even hates to read and nothing you have tried has worked? Get my free guide, 5 quick tips to immediately help your struggling reader. I'm going to show you the simple tricks that I've used for years to successfully improve children's reading and their confidence in reading. It's easy, it's simple, and it's free. Just go to theparentteacherbridge.com/reading help. You can find that link in the description below. Number 3, use crafts and games. Now there's an abundance of crafts and worksheets that you can do on sight words. You can go to places like Pinterest and Teachers Pay Teachers. I think I have a couple of screenshots to share with you. Usually if I look up something on Teachers Pay Teachers, I type the word freebie after it because I'm all about saving money there. But there you see there's just several things right there that you can print out. As long as you have paper at home and you have some ink, you can have those ready to practice with your child. If you want a more hands-on approach, you might choose to use Wiki Sticks or Play-Doh and shape those into the letter shapes while your child is looking at a guide right beside them. There's also traceables you can make where they're getting handwriting practice with the sight words also. Now, a simple game that we played at home was a fly swatting game. You could use a fly swatter, a spatula, a wooden spoon, just something where they can tap the card lightly and read the word. Or I might tap the card and my child read the word. And another simple game is a game of match. You just need 2 copies of each word to play this. And I might not put all 40 words out at one time. 2 copies of each would make 80 cards, and that's going to be a hard match game. So you might want to pare that down a little bit, or maybe only play match with the super hard words. Some games you play might be found on apps. Let me show you one that's been interesting to try for my tutoring students and also my children at home. Take a look. All right, so this is called Sight Word Apps, and it's by This Reading Mama. I like her blog. She has plenty of free things to share on it. But if you look at this, it doesn't cost a whole lot. But for this, you get to play several different games. You get a little bit of handwriting practice. You get spelling practice. And you get to customize which words your child practices. Now, the hard part may be selecting the words. So you're going to want to have your Dolch sight word list beside you. Let's say you're working on the Dolch kindergarten group, for example. You might want to have a printout of that because it's not divided up. But one thing I do like is all the words are in ABC order on this app. So it makes it easy to find if you just want to select 5 or 10 words from that kindergarten Dolch group. You can do that, and they're all there together for your child to practice. And you just set the timer and say, okay, you've got 15 minutes on this iPad, and it's going to review all those words for your child. You can log in later and update that, take some words off once your child knows them. So that's what I like about this app. It also has the ability to have profiles for different children. So if you're like me and you've got 2 children that are just 2 years apart, they're probably both working on sight words. Or maybe you tutor some children like I do, and you might have a profile just for them when they come to you for tutoring. I really like what that app has in the way of games that are hands-off for the mom once she's already plugged in the words. Now, you might be wondering how I taught all 3 of my children their sight words. Okay, so this is super simple, and maybe it's a little old school, but it's very affordable, and it was really effective for me and my children. So I took the Dolch sight word groups. There are 220 words, and they're divided into groups like pre-K, sometimes called pre-primer, or K for kindergarten, or the primer group, and those are the same. And then it would go into the first grade group and the second grade group and so on. So I wrote the words out onto index cards, and each group had a different color marker for the index cards. In case they got confused or dropped, I kept them in a set. Now, the first set has about 40 cards in it, 40 words. So I didn't start with 40 words. I only started with a small handful of words. Like I said, start small. I regularly reviewed them. We did the words in the car sometimes. If we had a longer car trip, not much going on, I might have reviewed words there. We did words at the kitchen table, maybe during breakfast. If your child goes to school, you could squeeze that in before school, or just have it as something in the afternoon or something you do on the weekend. It really doesn't take longer than 5 or 10 minutes. The point is that it's regular and that it's daily or nearly daily. They will catch on. But how do you make index cards fun? Well, I told you about our fly swatting game. I told you about stacking the cards and mixing them up and playing match. But sometimes it's as simple as reading them in a silly voice. My first child, sometimes he would just get in these moods, and the only way I had to get him out of the mood was to make him laugh or to make him smile. So you might try, let's read the words in a robot voice. Let's read the words in a whisper voice. Let's read the words in our silliest monster voice or a nasal voice. I mean, you could think of a ton of different ways to say the words, but that can bring your child back to attention because they're having fun with it. And you can do all that with just index cards. Well, maybe your child is different. If you have a child that's not catching on as well as you would hope, I would say scale back the amount of cards you're giving them at one time, or make sure the cards in the group that you have don't look too similar. So if you have two words that both start with the letter S, or maybe they're confusing the word here and the word where, maybe you might decide to teach them separately instead of together. Different things work for different children. If you think your child does have a learning disability, just slow down and keep an eye on it. It doesn't mean that they can never learn to read. It doesn't mean that they can never learn these words. They just may need to learn at a different pace or learn in slightly different ways than we learned growing up. So with that said, maybe your child needs a little bit more repetition. You're worried about them memorizing some of these harder sight words that you can't necessarily sound out. Here's an app that I have on my phone when I'm on the go. Take a look. This is called Learn Sight Words by Bright Trail. And if you look at it closely, you will see that they are divided into different groups. You can have all the words at once. Well, that would be a lot, like 220. You can have the pre-K words, the kindergarten words, the first grade words. But what are flagged words? Okay, so here's how you might try this. Let's say that your child knows all the pre-K words and they're going to work on the kindergarten set. First, you want to know how many kindergarten words in this Dolch list do they know? They might know some already, even though you haven't officially started the list. So you're going to open up the kindergarten and scroll through and have your child read each word. If they get it incorrect, or if they have to guess several times, or they need to sit there slowly and think about it, you can just hit the little flag and it flags the words. Voila. Then in your flagged words section of the menu, you're going to see all the words that your child does not know, and those are the words that you have to work with. Another feature I like about this app is that if they press the children's head just above the word, it will read the word for them. So there have been some times where I needed my child to just kind of take my phone and review them while I'm doing something else, and they can say the word out loud, then they can tap the face and check to see if they're correct. Now, other than flagging the words, there's no score involved here. There's no real game. It's just a virtual set of cards that you can't lose and that are always with you. Now, there are not different profiles on this as there was with the app that I mentioned earlier. So if you have two children working on it at the same time, you might not be able to flag the words as easily. But it will be there with you on your phone so that if you're at a restaurant sitting there waiting, if someone's gone into the store and you're waiting in the car with the kids, you can review those just a little bit here and there. Now, there's one more thing that added a little bit of motivation and excitement and pride when we were learning our sight words, and that is to print out a certificate when your child reaches a particular benchmark. If you think it's going to take a while before your child learns all 40 of the pre-K words, then you might not want to wait to do a certificate for learning the pre-K sight words. You might choose to print out a certificate once they hit 20 of them. If that was a true accomplishment for your child worked hard to get that, print off a certificate and make a big celebration out of it. Put it on the fridge. You can find free certificates online. I know they have some on Teachers Pay Teachers, but probably a simple Google search. And it doesn't take much to cheer a child up. As long as you have that verbal praise, stickers go a long way as well. If you would like a free guide on how I taught the Dolch pre-K sight words, click the link in the description below. You can also go to theparentteacherbridge.com/pre-K sight words. Now, I also have a free guide for those of you with struggling readers, and it's called 5 Quick Tips to Immediately Help Your Struggling Reader. You can find a link in the description below. I hope this video was helpful for you. Please click like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Remember, you are your child's most influential teacher.